Hello out there, and today we're going to be taking a look at the CRKT Gungho. And the Gungho is a new release, one of the only new things that CRKT had on display at Blade Show, and that's where I got to pick it up for the first time, and I focused a lot of my time at their booth on this knife, just because it was one of the few things I hadn't seen before. And when I got this knife in hand, I did like it a lot. It felt really good, it was comfortable, the quality of the G10 is excellent, and so that's a huge selling point, and even though I'm not a huge fan of Tanto blades or assisted opening knives, I knew that I was going to want to pick this one up when it became available, and it got released about a day or two after Blade Show, so I ordered it. $38 on Blade HQ, and here we are. And so today we're going to talk about the knife, absolutely, talk about the details as we always do, but I do have one way of looking at this one that is a little bit different and makes it a very simple evaluation, and one where you can really make up your mind yourself when it comes to this blade. And we'll get back to that in just a second, but first let's do some size comparisons and talk about the design. So the design is a Tom Crine design, and when I heard that, I thought that it might be a typo, because just looking at this knife, especially the handle shape, it reminded me of one thing, right out of the gate. Right? I mean, it looks just like the squid. Not just like, but I mean, it's pretty darn close. And I thought for a minute that this was actually going to be like a full-size squid, a Burnley design, maybe a new version of it. And certainly that's not the case, but you can see the resemblance here, just in general shape. And, if you're holding a squid and you're thinking, wow, I want this to be a little more hand-filling, I mean, the way that the Gungho feels is the way that you would expect a larger version of the squid to feel. So even though this is not the same design, not the same designer, it definitely does correlate in terms of what you would think a larger squid would feel like in hand. So that's a good thing. I mean, I always wanted something larger, a larger version of the squid, and even though this isn't it will suffice while we wait for one, that's for sure. All right, other size comparisons, let's just take a look at some of those. Here is a Benchmade mini grip. And looking at the cutting edge, you can see the Benchmade cutting edge is just about the same overall. Here is a steel wheel Modus. A little bit larger in the blade there. And just goes side to side with that squid here. And then finally, a very popular one for me lately, the Boker Lancer. So one thing though that the Gungho has different about it that the previous knives that you just saw did not have is a lot of weight. Gungho's a heavy knife. It's a stainless steel frame lock, so it does have that going for it in terms of strength and construction, but the internals that it takes in order for the outburst assist mechanism to be inputted in there makes the knife a little bit heavier than what you would expect for about a 3-inch blade length. 4.68, 4.7 ounces is the listed weight, so a little bit on the heavy side there. All right, but now let's just get to the absolute gist, the most basic way of looking at this knife that I can think of. What I realized when I first saw pictures of this knife and I first got it in hand, I realized that my first impression was absolutely right. The way that I felt about the knife within 15 seconds never changed. And that was, I don't really love the Tanto, I don't really love the assisted opening, the G10 is excellent, and for me, yeah, maybe $38 is worth checking out and putting some use on. That was my first impression. What I will say is that whatever your first impression is about this knife, it's right. It's not going to change. There's no real surprises with this one, is what I'm getting at. There's nothing that when you spend the $38 for this knife and you get it in your hand, there's nothing that you're going to see or nothing that you're going to experience that's going to make you say, oh wow, that was really worth it, or man, I wish I hadn't spent that money. Like, whatever you're thinking about this knife right now, you are correct. And that's a really simplistic way of putting it, and it's a way that sort of, I don't know, it's not me trying to dodge having to do a full review or give you my opinion. It's not that. It's just I think that this is just a very cut and dry, simple design. And the things that make it simple are that all of the aspects of it, the materials, the way that it's built, the shape, everything about it, people feel very strongly about, and none of it's done all that well or none of it's done badly. You know, so the Tanto, the Tanto shape, if you're into Tantos and you're into like an all black blade, don't mind it being a little bit hefty, yeah, you're going to like this knife. And if you think, oh man, that weight's just going to bother me a little bit, yeah, it's just going to bother you a little bit. Like there's nothing that you're going to experience in this knife that is going to change whatever that impression is. Hopefully that makes sense. You know, what I will say, let's just hit on some of the other major points though, to maybe help frame your impression. The G10 on this knife, man, G10 on this knife is excellent. It is a beautiful piece. It is sculpted perfectly. It is a matte finish, and it is completely out of focus, so that's awesome. All right, so here we go. So you can see just a very slight, bit of texturing. It's smooth, but it's not slick. This is a very classy piece. And the surprise for me is that this piece of G10 is on an assisted Tanto knife. I mean, for me, I think that this should be a satin blade. It should be a drop point. It should be the upgraded squid. And this should be a gents carry. They should make this lightweight. But again, maybe that's something that we'll see in the future. But just the quality of the G10 is great. It's almost by itself worth the price tag for me. So there's that. The opening is really snappy, and there's like a reverb, like a metallic-y kind of, sounds like a clock going off at the top of the hour. It sounds like a bell almost, a dinging that you get that I don't think you're going to be able to pick up on camera. I've tried to record it and it just hasn't worked, but it's a pretty loud and authoritative opening. The lockup is strong. It is secure up and down, left and right. You can see this is a good deep carry clip. It is right side only, so they didn't drill anything into the G10 really just to try to keep that one consistent look. So I do like that. For people who were concerned about maybe making this de-assisted, there is a detent ball, but it is minuscule. It is so tiny that I think the knife would just shake right out if you were to try to de-assist it. And honestly, I don't know how the internals with the outburst assist, I don't even know if that knife would be able to go back together without having all that set up. So I don't know. If anyone wants to try that and figure it out and maybe let me know, that's great, but not really something I would recommend. One nice little touch, actually, and you can see right inside right now, is the over travel stop. That is not really something that we've seen all the time from CRKT. So, just a nice little addition, but again, not going to really change too much in terms of your opinion, but just a little extra step that maybe a couple years ago we wouldn't have gotten. Looking at the blade, we've got 8 CR13 MOV, so again, no surprises there. They did beef it up at the tip. So it is going to be maybe a little bit stronger than some other Tantos where you might have some tip breakage. Seems pretty strong, but it's only as strong as 8CR is going to be. So, there's that. Fit and finish, yeah, fit and finish is good. It's fine. So again, nothing that you're hearing right now is going to make you say, wow, maybe apart from the G10, but nothing is going to make you say, nah, if you're into the specs. That's really it, and usually I like to try to find things about knives that stand out, little details that make it worth that investment, that set it aside from the rest of the knives out there. And with this one, they're just not there. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's just a $38 knife. And if you're looking at it and you're liking the way that it looks, and you have experience with Tantos and 8CR13, and you want a nice piece of G10, you know exactly how this knife is going to be. So, not a good thing, not a bad thing, but no surprises with this one. All right, guys, so that's really all I've got to say about it. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Anything else I can do for you, yeah, be in touch, but I will talk with you soon. Take care and have a good one.